Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. This is your host, Ahmed Khaymer from the BNB Chain Gaming BD team. Today is our fifth session of the mentorship sessions for the BNB Chain Game Jam. I'm accompanied today by Oliver Schmitt from ValueX. Welcome, Oliver.
Hi, Ahmed. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Nice to meet
So,
you.
thank you very much. I'm going to make this short and sweet. The floor is yours. Please let us know what does ValueX offer the developers in the Web3 chain space? What would you advise, and how would your tools assist them?
Awesome. Yes, thank you very much for this welcome. As said, my name is Oliver. I'm CCO of ValueX, and I'm gonna guide you through a little bit about who we are, and above all, and most importantly, about how we work and what we provide. How can I show the present? Perfect. So I hope everybody can see the slides. Yeah, ValueX is about game changers in Web3 and tech. That's our focus. So hello, BNB Chain Game Jam. Hope you're all well, and talking a little bit about our basic idea. So where we started from was to bring value into the crypto space. So when we started with our conception for ourselves, and I will show you then afterwards how you can conception also your business. In the center of our idea was how can we empower projects to become successful businesses, because when you start and you are a project, it's this first spirit of doing something new, but it's not yet a business, and so you actually have to go through a transformation phase. So when Paul and I started to develop what ValueX is today, we thought about what can we bring into the space, and what we actually have as our experience is many years in corporates. We have a marketing and corporate strategy background. I myself started in telecommunications industry, and Paul also has a wide and vast experience of different industries that he brings and contributes. So our basic idea in the beginning of how can we support and enable projects brought us to a threefold model, which you can see on this slide. So the part at the bottom is where it actually started from, which is today research, where we analyze projects in terms of how sustainable and long-term oriented they are. We also have a proper and our own rating scheme. On the right-hand side, you see our advisory part, which will be the part we will cover today, where we actually do the work, where we support in building up a business and in organizing the funding for it. And the third part and the third arm is our capital arm, where we have a exclusive investment club of experienced business people who support our projects with their knowledge, their network, and also invest into the projects. So when we dive a little bit deeper into our approach, we always start with an analytics phase where we do a kickoff. We then go into a conception phase where we work on 8 distinct pillars, which I will show in the next slide, and then accompany into the execution, which is all about funding on the one hand side, and on the other hand side on building up the corporate structure, the team, and developing actually into a business. So when we come to this conception phase that I mentioned, we have 8 distinct pillars here. And I will now guide you through these 8 pillars, which in our experience and in our belief form what actually at the end, at the last part, then forms a compelling investment story, which of course is crucial for achieving the funding that the project needs. So let me step now into these different pillars and steps, and let me start with market opportunity. Why is market opportunity such an important part of the whole investment story? That's quite simple, because when you look at the market potential, you have to realize that the market potential is not and does not equal, in most cases, your market opportunity. So it is very important to find out what is, so to say, this part of the market potential that is out there. And we start here with a first analysis on the market dynamics. So if we talk about market dynamics, it's very important to, in the first step, find out what the development that characterize the market segments have been taken place so far. So these basic dynamics are the basis when you start building your business, actually. And it's also so important there because the opportunities they offer are where we build our business on, actually. So the second step is what developments then can be expected in the relevant market segments and in the near future. So it is very crucial here to take a first sight into what can be expected and which direction is it heading. And then the third part of the analysis that we do here is to identify which opportunities do these developments offer for ourselves and actually for our business model. And with this knowledge and with this insights, we take the probably first and most important step that you have to take before you start your business, because we are here addressing 3 basic questions, which the first one is about what is your business. And I know this seems quite trivial on the first sight, but it has really far-reaching consequences for marketing and corporate strategy, because it is really about the needs of your future users. It's about understanding which segments are out there. But it's also about understanding how the overall market situation looks like. And at the end of the day, it's about which substitution products, offers, games are out there. So this first definition is really crucial in order to come afterwards to a market and competitive strategy. The second step is where do we want to compete? This is also very important because it opens up the opportunity areas. So you can look at it in terms of that there are product related market opportunities, but there are also needs related market opportunities. And at the third point is that there are also competence related market opportunities. At the background, just to cover this quite briefly, is you can look at the market from a product perspective, from a need perspective, or from a competence perspective. And actually, it is very important to have the insights of these three angles in order then to decide where does our advantage lie and where should we focus on. And the third element or lever that we have here is the question of what priorities we want to compete in. So that's actually the essence of your competitive strategy and covers what is also quite known as the 4 Ps. So it will be about your pricing strategy, your product strategy, but also your distribution strategy and your communication strategy. So it's P because it would then be place and promotion. So these three levels or levers really form what is needed for your business and market strategy and to develop it in a compelling way. If we now move on to the next step, we come to purpose and mission, which is also a basic foundation for your business that you want to build. So maybe you have already heard of Simon Sinek and his golden circle. He invented this out of the idea that many of today's most successful companies think beyond the practical, rational benefits of products and services, but start with something completely different in the first look. Because they start with the question of why. So the challenging question of why are we doing what we are doing? Because the idea behind is that people do not buy what you do, they buy why you do something. So it's more about making clear what is your vision behind this, what are your values, and what is actually your motivation. And after you have defined this core element, you can go to the next level, which is about how. So what's the way of the realization? What is your processes? And what's the way how you make your product and your offer so unique. And the third part then it would be the what, which is the product itself. It's about results, it's about facts, and actually what you offer. And this together brings you to a positioning target, which paves the way to where you, after the next steps, then will bring you to a very unique and differentiated positioning. But before we do this, we then take the next step to the business model, which is, of course, a central element when you start your own business. So talking about the business model, it's at the first point about your value proposition. And the value proposition, what we always like to do, and what we found out is really a very productive and distinctive way is to come to your value proposition through value innovation. So it's a maybe you have heard already about the blue ocean strategy concept. And the value innovation is actually the cornerstone of this concept. Blue ocean strategy is about creating new markets and bringing value to customers from a point of view where you see that your offering is utility minus its price. Yeah? So you get a different angle when you look at it, because you start with the question of what are the factors in our industry, in our niche maybe, that are taken for given by all the other players. And you just find out which elements do you want to raise for your own model. In the second step, you think about, is there any element that does not yet exist in this industry or in this niche? And which one do we want to create really very new and that has not existed before? In the third step, you go into the question, which elements can we reduce because they are maybe not that decisive for our success? And the last and fourth step is that you find out which of these elements that are taken for given in this industry or your niche can be eliminated because they actually don't really add value to your users. And what you can derive from these four answers when you synchronize them and put them together is a really quite clear value proposition that is also differentiating. So you have come to your core of your value proposition, and from that you can go to the 6 most important questions and areas of your business model. So the question about what are our stakeholders and our target segments? What are our main activities that we want to establish and to execute? What is the core of our offering? How can we organize our sales? And what are the key determinants for our performance? And at the end of the day, of course, how can we establish revenue streams that work out? And from that, you can then derive a business model that we typically define in this structure. So as said, you start with your value proposition. You divide this over your different stakeholders and then go step by step through your business activities, your essential offerings. So to say, in your case, that would be the game mechanics, your sales strategy, your drivers of performance, and your major revenue streams. And the wonderful thing about this structure here is that it's very quickly understandable, although it's quite complex. And an investor would immediately see that you have really thought through your whole business model and that you have a logic model of how you can, at the end of the day, realize your revenue streams. Yeah? So that's the basic idea here, and that's how you can formulate and structure the whole model that is complex, of course, in a very simple and quickly communicating way. So after the business model, we are ready to jump into the next step, which is about your brand and your positioning. Yeah? You remember that with purpose and mission, you paved the way into this direction, and now we go into the details here. So what we apply and where we start when it comes to brand is about finding out what actually is the personality of your brand. Yeah. So what is in it, so to say. Yeah? And we do this within these distinct steps that we noted here. So the first question is where we learned that it's very helpful to work with archetypes. Archetypes are typical personalities that we all have in our brains. So, for example, if you look at the hero, everybody can understand what the hero is about. Yeah, or you have the magician, or you have the rebel. Yeah, so these are archetypes that are international and everybody understands what it is. And we start with identifying which archetypes signify and describe our brand model the best. Out of this, we define the identity of our brand, and then go into the image. So when the image is something that consists of concrete elements, the question here is, what are the concrete elements that we want to apply? So it's of course in order to create recognition. So if you look at this element here, it's quite clear that it's McDonald's, although it's not the appropriate color, but actually everybody knows this. And that's how to create recognition. And the next step then is to go into the tonality. And the tonality is about a various kind of different elements. So it's about the personality, it's about the relations, and also about the experience that makes our brand unique. And from the tonality, we can derive the attributes that will be actually of key importance for our product brand's positioning. And we there define the key attributes that form actually the brand and where it wants to, where it heads to. Yeah. And the next step is then the positioning statement that can be derived from these attributes that we defined as the elements of our brand. So it actually finds its result in a positioning statement, which is also always about, we define for whom, so the target segment is our brand, which category that delivers which point of difference, which benefit, and through which reason to believe. These are the major elements that every positioning statement has to contain. And after this positioning statement, we are now able to put this into a position against our most important competition, so that we have a brand competition landscape that makes quite clear where we want to position ourselves and where our most relevant competitors are positioned. So this is what we have to do when we go through the brand and positioning part. And from that, we come to the next, also very important one, which then goes more into the operational phase, which is about the marketing strategy. And we found a very special way to define your marketing strategy, because what we apply is we take the customer journey as the basis. Why is this makes this sense? It's simply because if you go through the different stages, so in the sense of having a clear funnel of, you start with awareness, you go through consideration, you go to the selection stage, then you go to the usage stage, and then you come hopefully to a loyalty stage. If you go through all these stages and define which concrete steps they contain and which touch points they contain, and then you combine it with your challenges you have there, your targets you have to apply, which offers you want to offer to your users, and of course, which activities you want to apply. Remember, we defined them in our business model. And this is also the time when we can do some iteration and fine tune a little bit the business model. and take it into account in your marketing strategy, your activities and your responsibilities at the end. You have a very concrete overview of actually your whole marketing strategy, including your channels and your activities and your targets, which then you can put into a monitoring system that will help you to achieve your goals at the end of the day. So coming to this point, we are now going into the finalization phase. And the sixth step that we take is about your go-to-market approach. Because now we really know much about how we want to position ourselves. We have an idea about our vision, about our business model, about the marketing strategy and the activities and goals and monitoring. Now we have to define how we really and concretely organize our go-to-market. And the go-to-market actually consists about 4 distinct steps, which starts with your value matrix. And the value matrix contains, on the first-hand side, what are the pain points of your future users and players? What's your product value, and what shall derive from this your message contain? And from that step, we go into the sales strategy, which can be either inside sales, outside sales, or self-service. Yeah? And to apply this, we have to analyze what the product demand is about and which channels and criteria per target segment we can apply here. And then we go into the implementation, which means which segments, in which regions, and with which partners can we execute and implement over the different periods and the certain roadmap. And the last step, or the last element you see here, which is named with market info, is something that has always to be taken into account, because of course we need to know about our market and have info about that, and to make iteration steps also for our go-to-market approach in order to come up with a proposal that makes sense, and that makes sense to an investor, and that puts us into a position where we can roll out our product and everything we offer in a proper way. So coming to to one of the last steps, which is about tokenomics, of course, and we all know that this is something that is very important. It's also a complex thing, of course, and because I knew that we don't have hours today, but just to give an overview of what it is, I would like to point out the most important issues here that we also experienced within our projects that we work with and that we support. So it's, of course, always about this interplay between utility and your allocation. So our core or basic advice here is always to focus on the utility model in the first step, and then, if possible, to avoid governance, because governance always brings huge complexity. It sometimes, as we know from projects, sometimes leads to user apathy, because of the complexity, and sometimes even supports abuse. So that's what we, in general, it can be different, of course, from case to case, but in general, this is what we advise. Additionally, what our opinion is here is that beware of revenue share models, unless it really makes sense. But normally you have a security token issue here, and legal compliance issues that you have to address, which makes everything much more complex. So the idea would be to mostly focus on volume transaction stimulation, which you can of course always do more through low prices, and of course there's the possibility to build your private BSC chain on Binance and take advantage of what Binance offers here. So this brings me actually to the very last point of the process or the steps that I wanted to share with you today, which is the investment story. So if we have gone through these 7 steps, we are in the position to define an investment story that is compelling, that is understandable, and that really seems to be realistic. It is important to have an answer that is arguable and that is understandable to all the questions. It is when we then present this investment story to investors, not so much about painting everything in golden. It's more about also being, honest and frank, and to build trust and relationship with the investors. This is what we always advise and what we also train and coach when we have elaborated a compelling investment story. So to sum up, our why, so to say, is to enable long-term market success, and this will in turn then bring the entire space forward in a sustainable manner, which is our why, where we started actually when we established ValueX. Yes, we are spreading the word for our projects on conferences and presentations and interviews, and we have actually various kinds how you can cooperate with us. The build up side, I think I presented to you today in a rough overview. We also have our rating service that I mentioned before. We support in funding, of course, and we also give trainings. That's actually what we do. It's about peak performance in Web3 business build up. And yeah, that's it. I guess we are now open for questions and answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Oliver, for that. From my side, actually, the final question I have, I believe you didn't put your contact details up, but we will be sending them out for anyone that requests to contact with you. I'm looking at the questions, and I don't believe we have any questions for today. Is there anything else you would like to add from your side?
I think what I mentioned in one of the last slides is quite crucial, because we are very often questioned, what do we have to do in order to realize the funding that is needed for our project? And what I can tell here is that it's always 2 sides. It's on the one hand side, you need to build a compelling investment story. That's these pillars that we go through with our projects. That's, of course, that's like your homework. That's what you have to do. That's a little bit, sweat and tears and blood. Yeah. But this is actually the basic foundation that you have to elaborate as a teaser or as an appetizer for investors. And then if the investor understood through this investment story and your pitch deck, which does nothing else than communicating your investment story. Then you have to meet the investors, and this is actually the moment of truth where you as a team have to deliver, and where you as a team have to convince the investor that you are capable of realizing what you have defined in your wonderful and smart pitch deck. So this is actually the most important message that we always give, and where we work together really closely and train the projects and the teams and coach them, because it is at the end of the day mostly about trust in you as a team, in you as a person, as a CEO, to be able to deliver what you have promised in with your investment story. So that would be, I would say, really the most important message that I can give all the projects and all the studios that are watching and listening, because without that, it's just not to be accomplished what you need for your market and business success.
Fair enough. Thank you once again, Oliver. Always a pleasure having you here. This has been your host, Ahmed Heimer from the BNB Chain Gaming team. And thank you all for tuning in. Game on.
Wonderful.
Cheers.
Awesome. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. Thank you.